This is KGW News at noon.
It has been an up and down few hours on Wall Street. Right now, you're looking at the big board. You can see the Dow is up about 255 points. This comes as the Fed makes a historic announcement. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Brenda Braxton. The Federal Reserve is making its biggest rate hike since 1994. The increase is 3/4 of a point. Fed leaders believe this is the best way to slow what they call an overheated economy and stop our historic run of inflation. However, it does mean Americans will pay more for credit cards, private student loans, new car loans, and mortgages. Economists say that increases our risk of a recession.
And the hope is that by raising interest rates, they'll slow the economy. The trouble is that it's a blunt tool. It affects all of the economy, whether there's a hot demand there or not.
Fed leaders believe low unemployment means the economy overall is strong and it can handle this rate increase. This is the third rate hike this year, and it likely won't be the last, but the Fed does not anticipate another move of this size. Okay, this is the video that everybody's talking about today. Severe flooding in Yellowstone National Park. Scenes like this have forced more than 10,000 visitors to evacuate. Flooding has washed out roads, destroyed bridges, and closed the 2 million acre park. Here's part of Lester Holt's conversation with the Park County Sheriff last night.
The water levels that we're seeing and devastation that's coming from the floodwater is not anything that we've ever experienced here in Park County. We've got communities that have been cut off by water. So big efforts have been opening those roads back up to try to get resources to those folks that are cut off, as well as maybe getting folks out of those areas as to move them to higher ground.
Things could still get worse. Some weather forecasts are calling for more possible flooding this weekend. No matter what happens, rangers say the park has been, quote, dramatically changed. And this is video from Kansas of what looks like a tornado in the town of Marysville on Saturday. However, the National Weather Service says this was not a tornado because the cloud didn't rotate. It was still a powerful storm, though, with sustained winds of 100 miles an hour, and it did about $10 million worth of damage. Rod Hill is here now with more on the national weather picture. And Rod, the Great Lakes region could have some issues.
Yeah, that was an interesting cloud you just showed from Kansas, because that was absolutely the base you'd expect to see the funnel itself drop out of, but apparently that didn't happen that time around. As you mentioned, Brenda, here's the main area at highest risk for strong, severe thunderstorms and maybe some tornadoes. But I just checked, as of right now, no watches or warnings have been issued. This is just classic strong thunderstorm activity. There's the state of Wisconsin. This is the main threat area today. So forecasters locally and from the National Weather Service, of course, will be watching that area very, very carefully. The other big story, and there are a bunch of them, the other big story nationally is the heat. So this is a current temperature map. Right now it's 98 degrees in Atlanta, Georgia. Now it's 3:30 or 3:03 in the afternoon there. So they could easily get up to 100 degrees. St. Louis is close. And much of this area from Dallas to Cleveland to Chicago, where it's 93, are expecting to see the heat index go above 100 degrees today when you factor in the humidity. You get back here in the green and the yellows, and we are much, much more comfortable. We are seeing thicker cloud cover than I expected. There's the Quinta Bay camera in Newport, where there may be some sprinkles or some light raindrops falling. Here's downtown Portland, cloudy skies. We've had some reports of sprinkles falling from the clouds this morning as well. We're at 60 degrees. We'll try to get up to 70 this afternoon. At least possible you'll feel a raindrop. That is a big about face from what I was preaching this morning when I was giving you the definition of the three letters DRY. Brenda.
I know Mother Nature not having any of it. Rod, thank you. In the meantime, we are keeping an eye on river levels in the Willamette and Columbia. They're still higher than usual after more than 50 days of measurable rain since April. The good news is the water is expected to start receding over the next few days. But there's still a flood warning in effect for the Columbia in Vancouver through tomorrow evening. Still, businesses along those riverbanks are staying open.
We have to deal with this year to year. It just depends on how high the water got, and it got high this year.
So he says all of the cafe's appliances run on propane. So when the truck arrived yesterday morning, he had no choice but to put on that wetsuit and fill his tanks. Some ominous video now from the Oregon coast. Inspectors are trying to figure out why part of the roof collapsed at the Bowie Beer Company in Astoria. This happened just after 6 o'clock last night. The good news is the restaurant was closed, so no one was inside. We heard from the fire chief and city manager who talked about how this situation could have been much, much worse.
And as devastating as it is to the community and our local business owners, it really could have been worse if a fire had started or if people would, been in the building if it was occupied.
The building houses Bowie's brewing operations and a restaurant. Inspectors are trying to figure out if any part of that building can be saved. Right now, the entire area around Bowie Beer is blocked off, including the Riverwalk. Well, it's official. Portland voters will decide this November whether or not to dramatically change how the city governs itself. As Alma McCarty reports, many local leaders say it's a change that has to happen.
After 18 months of work and lots of community outreach,
We spent a lot of time looking at what Portlanders are unhappy about and trying to fix that.
Tuesday evening, finally, a vote.
That, my friends, is a supermajority.
The 20-person Charter Commission reached a supermajority, 17-3, leaving a decision that would eliminate Portland's style of government, the last of its kind in any major American city, in the hands of its voters.
This isn't just fixing around the edges. This is a big change.
Melanie Billings-Young is the commission's co-chair.
First of all, our system is absolutely antiquated. It was made for a different time. We want a city that is more responsive, equitable, representative, able to get things done.
The commission approved 3 key changes if the plan is implemented. Number 1, voters will use what's called ranked choice voting, where they rank candidates in order of their preference. 2, the city will be divided into 4 new geographic districts. Each district will have 3 city councilors for a total of 12. And 3, those councilors will focus on setting policy, while the elected mayor and an appointed professional city administrator run day-to-day operations.
This is not going to fix everything in January 1 of 2025 that the city faces today, but it has the pathway to remove the silo effects. It has the pathway to have accountability up to the city manager and the mayor.
Commission member Andrew Spear also voted in favor and says the plan could help people better connect with those they elect.
You have either 1 or 3 or 2 representatives within your district that you can connect with, address issues with, and be engaged. So that role of council being important, of engagement.
The 3 charter commissioners who voted against the reforms last night say they need more time to consider them. If voters approve these changes, they will take effect in January of 2025. Now, you may have seen signs like this posted in Clark County. The sheriff's office is advertising that it has the lowest staffed police agency in Washington and the lowest law enforcement to citizen ratio in the entire country. That has more residents buying guns, worried deputies won't show up in an emergency.
I have 2 loaded weapons now at all times, front door and back door.
I'm packing. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And I know it's not the existing police force and the sheriff's department. It's not their problem. They got their hands tied behind their back.
In the last 6 months, Clark County Sheriff Chuck Atkins has lost 20 deputies to other law enforcement agencies that are offering incentives such as signing bonuses. His department currently has 70 openings, but even if they were filled, it still takes 12 to 18 months to fully bring those new officers on board.
If we're full and had all of those people in place, we still are the least staff per 1,000 residents of any county in the state of Washington.
The sheriff now wants Washington primary voters to support a tax increase when they go to the polls in August. If this passes, there would be more money for county law enforcement to attract and retain officers.